Fire up the record button here. We are recording.
Okay.
Okay. Performance monitoring. Basically, we talked about the different levels of performance monitoring. So let's go ahead and review that. So we've already been through operational planning. We went through the reviews. So everybody's kind of familiar with developing the operational plan. Now we're going to talk about once we get the plan in place and we're executing the plan, how do we figure out where we are? And that's the different levels of performance monitoring. So the first thing we're going to talk about is this middle level, macro level, which is basically the dashboard screen itself. And that is at the group level in the pyramid. So it's kind of way up high in the pyramid, again, macro level. And you can look at a dashboard for any group and its subgroups in here. So we're going to go through some examples of that. Micro level will be next, and that is down at the objective and activity level. So sometimes the idea is the macro level is too high a picture to be able to see something going wrong down at the lower levels. And that's why we have the micro levels down there. So at your objective and activity level, you can look at the status down there. And then we'll talk about VMSG public, which is the ability to create public facing web pages out of any data elements in the system. And we'll go through an example. I think you guys have some of your chip in there, so we'll go ahead and use an example of that. And the reason that performance monitoring is critical, obviously, is because as you're going through the PDCA cycle, you get to the check phase. The check phase is comparing plan to actual. Well, performance monitoring is the actual. So in order to be able to understand where you are, you need to be able to have that. And again, that's facilitated by the real-time planning, collecting the information from everybody kind of in the background. We're going to go ahead and use the same example we've been using, the tobacco cessation to start with, and just kind of review that. The tobacco group, tobacco cessation was the initiative, reduce smoking in high schools, reduce smoking at Wayne High School by 25% by the end of the school year, and then the activities, create training curriculum, provide 9 training sessions a month, contact the local tobacco vendors. So again, we're going to first focus on the group level up here with the dashboard screen. So let's go live into the system and we'll go back into the community health division down here. So again, the dashboard can be at any level. So I can have a dashboard. If I select the department level, I can see the entire department on one screen. If I want to look at just my strategic plan, I can look at that on one screen. Any of these other plans, in the case of, I'm down here at community health. Community health has 2 subgroups, tobacco and WIC. So when I do a dashboard for community health, I'm going to see the first 2 level groups underneath that. The reason for that is because the people who are running tobacco and WIC are typically going to be reporting to the community health director. So I'm going to want to see pretty much everything within my jurisdiction. Now, if there were subgroups underneath that, then you can use what we call show subgroups, and you can look down levels below that. So if I'm at the department level, by default, I'm going to see everything that's a level 2 reporting to the department. And then if I wanted to go deeper than that down to these level 3 groups, I'll show you the button that you can use to do that. So now at the community health level, when I log in, let's say again for today, I'm the community health director. When I log in, it takes me to my default group. So I really don't have to do anything. I don't have to go to the group screen if I want to see the dashboard just for my area of responsibility. I just go up and click on the traffic light up here in the top right corner. And it takes it again about 10 or 12 seconds to gather up all the data from all the groups and subgroups underneath there. And every time we go back to the dashboard screen, and I know it's a little bit inconvenient, but the fact is that you've got potentially thousands of people updating information in the background there. So anybody in your department could be updating the information. So each time we have to recalculate based on the fact that we know that they might be doing updates. So this is the dashboard screen for community health. And again, community health includes the first 2 subgroups underneath it. So let's look at the controls up here. The first one is homepage button. There's 3 screens that you can set as your login homepage, meaning when I log in, it takes me automatically to that screen. If I clicked on this one, I'm going to get a little dialogue that says, do you want to make this your homepage? And you can say yes. And what happens is when you log in, it takes you right to the dashboard for your default group, which in this case would be community health. The other 2 screens that you can do that with are the main menu, which is the default, and the reports menu. The reason the reports menu is in there because we'll have folks out there like maybe administrative assistant to the health director. And he wants her to print out a report every week on the status of the department or the strategic plan or whatever it is. So in fact, when that person logs in, they can go directly to the reports menu and print out the reports in there. So that's the homepage button. This is that show subgroups button I was talking about. So now that I'm on community health and the only subgroups are the first level below it, it wouldn't make any difference. But if I was at the department level, my first screen would show me everything at the department level plus the level 2 groups. If I hit show subgroups, it'll add all the level 3, 4, 5 on down groups to it here. Over here on the left hand, these controls give me the ability to look at the traffic lights at any level. So the default is the activity level, but I can go look at the objective level again. How am I doing against my targets, if you will? And then the goal level up here. So I can look at the traffic lights for any one of those 3 levels. In the traffic light, we see the number of, in this case, activities in each status here. So we got 1 red, 4 yellow, 13 green, and 5 gold. In an ideal world, you want to try to keep everything as much gold and green as you can. When you get to the 4 yellows up here, something is potentially going wrong. Something did go wrong at the red level here. Now, everything on this screen is clickable. So I can drill down to these 4 activities here and take a look and see exactly what's going on. So instead of me having to search around, it's just, click on it, say, okay, these are the 4 yellow activities. You can review those, say, yep, everything's good. Or maybe I can make an assignment to somebody to go out and get this thing back on track, something along that line. Now, from this point of view, I can either use the back arrow up here to go back to my dashboard screen, or I can use the dashboard button again up here on the top right. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard screen. So that's the top left corner. Now, if I were to click on this USA Public Health Community Health Division button, it's just the same as clicking on the groups button. It's going to take me to the group screen. I can select a different group and then pop up the dashboard for that. The schedule gauge here is showing me, so right here, I think there's 23 activities combined for community health. And it says aggregately 17 days behind schedule. The way that's calculated is every activity has got a beginning date and an ending date and a % complete, whether it's calculated or finite. And the way that it calculates, let's say we have an activity that begins on January 1st and ends on December 31st of 2023. Let's go back a couple weeks here and say we're at July 1st, 2023. So we're exactly halfway through the year. Pardon me. So we're halfway through the year. If we are 50% complete or greater, then we're on track. If let's say we're only 40% complete and we're halfway through the year, we're 10% behind schedule. If we're 60% complete, we're 10% ahead of schedule. So what it's doing is looking at all of that for all the 23 activities and saying, aggregately, we're at 17 days behind schedule. Typically, when you're in the yellow, that's not really too bad. Just means, something's come up and you haven't got these things completed. When you get down to 60 days behind schedule, this turns red. And when you get on schedule, it turns green. So again, kind of the first thing you look at is the traffic lights in the top left corner, and the schedule gauge gives you a good snapshot of how we're performing. Down at the bottom, I can drill down deeper. First thing I look at are my activity leaders. So those are the folks we assigned as the activity leads. So we go across, we see Diane Cox. Diane has been in and updated her stuff within the last 30 days. The green is less than 30 days, yellow 30 to 60, red is over 60 days. Ideally, again, you want everybody to be less than 30 days, but sometimes, they'll slip over into yellow. Again, they're on vacation the last week of the month or something like that. Roll up of the FTE number. So this is the aggregate FTE for all of the assignments at the activity level for each person. So again, try to keep everybody at the 1.0 FTE or less. When you start getting up too high, you start wearing people out, potentially causing people to leave the organization. Lagging just says, again, the same calculation on beginning date, ending date, % complete. We're just saying that we have activities that are behind schedule, and by a color coding, you can tell how far. The days column is the same as the schedule gauge for the individual person. So in this case, you see Mara is 2 days behind schedule, and Tom is 36 days ahead of schedule. Overdue just means that I have some activities that are past the ending date and not yet 100% complete. And then a number of red, yellow, green, and gold. So this is just kind of a snapshot of the performance of each person as you assign them to activities in the different plans. We just lost Heidi. You're muted, Whitney.
Yeah, I think she did. I wonder if she's having internet issues at the conference. Oh, there she's back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give her a second. Are you back, Heidi?
Sorry, I am. Sorry, I lost you.
Oh, yeah. Are you at a hotel internet connection? Is that it?
Yeah, I'm on my hotspot, but I've been able to hear you good. So you're good to keep going. Sorry about that.
No problem. Okay. So that's my first view is my people. My second view here is my group. So I'm going to click on that. It's going to, again, go recalculate the screen. What's going to happen now is I'm going to look at the group and the subgroups down here. So in this case, we'll see Community Health Division and the two groups underneath it, tobacco and WIC. So again, if I were to show subgroups now, in this case, it wouldn't do any different because there's no other subgroups down here. But again, if I was at the department level, hit show subgroups, it's going to list every group in that group screen down here. Basically the same information over here. And again, everything's clickable. So I could look at just these two gold activities, or I could look at the one red activity for tobacco, that sort of thing. My third view is my strategic priorities. So once you get your strategic plan in there, we're going to map your strategic priorities against everything else that you have in the system. And what that just allows you to do is make sure that everything you're doing at your strategic plan, strategic priority level is in fact being represented by everything else in the system here. Then up at the top right corner, we have my priorities. Again, these are individually selectable objectives that you personally want to keep your eye on. Now this one is turned green. So if I wanted to go back to here and uncheck this one, take it off of my priorities, I can just click on that. I go to the green one up here and just say, okay, I don't need to watch it anymore because it's green. This is the flag down here, the green flag. If I click on that, it turns gray. And then when I go back up there, it should be gone. Now, what this dialog is telling me is the activity that I just selected here is actually in the Tobacco 2023 group, the subgroup. So what it's saying is, do you want to now look at a dashboard for the subgroup for tobacco, or do you want to go back to your community health group? I'm going to go back and say, I want to go back to my community health group. Because the activity we looked at was in the subgroup, I could look at the dashboard for just that subgroup if I chose to. So here we are back again, same view. So again, you'll notice that one is gone. So again, these appear only on your login. So the ones that you select are unique to you. Everybody can select the same ones or different ones, but you're going to have your own view up here. Typically, we see things that are yellows and reds because that's the ones you want to keep your eye on here. And typically, they're either things you're working on personally or your team members are working on. Now, if somebody were in the background to change this to a green, it would flip up to green automatically on the screen. So you can look at it, maybe go drill down, take a look at it and say, oh, I see John just fixed that. I can take it off my screen here. Down at the bottom, we're going to talk about this a couple different times here, the what we call the cookie crumbs down here at the bottom. So if I roll my mouse across at the organization level, the group level down here, now there's nothing in service, goal, objective, and activity. We'll see where that comes in as we're getting down to the levels in the planning here. So this is the dashboard screen itself. Are there any questions on the dashboard? Nope. Okay.
Nope.
Okay. Now, as we talked earlier, the dashboard is also available on your phone. So remember, on the phone, it's exactly the same login. It's login.vmsgdashboard.com. Same login credentials, so your username or email address and your password, and it knows that it's on a phone. It'll take you to the VMSG mobile here. So exactly the same functionality as you saw, a little bit less context just due to screen real estate here, but you got the top left corner, the bottom, and the top right corner up here. So again, you can get to the same information on your phone. And this comes in handy, you know, if you're coming into the office, you stop for coffee or whatever, and want to say, hey, how's my group performing today? I can just go on my phone, look at it, and I have all the same information in there. And by the way, everything on here is clickable as well. So I can drill down on any of this information. So I can see these 5 yellow activities, or over here, I can look at the 3 yellow activities for William, that kind of stuff. Now we're going to go into micro level performance monitoring. And again, this is down at the objective and activity level. So I'm going to go back to my groups here. Oops, where'd it go? Okay, I'm going to select my tobacco group again. And I'm going to go ahead and drill on down the plan. So tobacco cessation, reduce smoking in high schools, reduce smoking at Wayne High School, and then get down to my activity level. So let's go ahead and take a look at this first activity, create training content materials for students and faculty on the dangers of smoking. It's very simple to get to that. And it's basically, once you've selected the activity, is to click on this chart button here. So I click on the chart and it's going to show me over time from when we started all the way through the current entry here that we were at 0, 25% complete, 50%, 75, and 100% complete up here. Now there's some options on this particular screen that lets you kind of customize the view. The first one is the date range. So I can go ahead and select a beginning and ending date. So if I wanted to cut it down to say August 31st of 22 through December 15th of 22, I could have this whole chart just be these data points in here. The other thing I have is what time frame do I want to look at? Now where this comes in to be important is if you're doing multiple entries within a time period. So you notice you got a lot of different choices here. Let's say we're doing an entry every week, and I just want to look at the monthly cycle. So I want to look at one data point for each month. So during the monthly cycle, I can say I want to look at the average for that month or the last value. And here's where the difference is. If I'm doing something like I see here where it's continually increasing, I know that I should be moving up every month. So I'm probably going to want to look at the last value for the month. So let's say I did 4 entries during the month, 1 each week in here. And I know it's continually climbing. I want to see where was I at the end of the month. So that's what that's about. And if I have something that's, kind of going up and down around here, I'm looking at 9 training sessions a month or something down here, it's going to be way down here at the bottom level. So it's going to be moving up and down. So probably I want to look at the average for the month versus the last value. So you got your choices of doing that. So that's customizing that view of the chart. The other one up here is the ability to set the scale. So the default is auto scale, which means add 10% to the highest value. So up here I have 100%. So you notice the scale is 110%. If I click on this and say 100%, it now clips it at 100%. So if I wanted to have a 0 to 100% scale on anything, I could do that. You'll notice it clips off the text and that sort of thing. So in this particular case, auto is a better choice. There's also the time when you got something that's way down here at the bottom, and it should be, maybe you're looking at a 25% increase or something. Let's take a look back here at the reduce smoking at Wayne High School. So yeah, right now you'll notice if we were at the 100% scale, it wouldn't be quite as obvious how we're doing. It's kind of moving along, on a flat curve here. And you'll notice we're at 100%. So if I set the auto, it says take the highest value, which is 25, add 10% to that, so 2.5 points to it. So it makes the scale more obvious in there. So let's go back to our activities here. Okay, so that's the settings that you can make to customize the view. Now, if you are, and you guys are, org admins or manager level users, you have this Save Defaults button. Normal users don't have this. What that says is I'm going to customize my view to whatever I want people to see on a default basis, and I'll hit Save Defaults. So what happens is when everybody goes in and looks at the chart, they're going to see it as you saved it. Now, once they're in there, they can go through and tweak all the settings in here, look at it any way they want to, but when they go out and go back in or go out, anybody else goes back in, they're going to get the default view again. So that's just the ability to set a default view. Typically that's used for a historical record. Maybe you want to look at a year to date or last year, or you just got some data points in the beginning you don't want to show, something along that line. So the Save Defaults is again available to org admins and manager level users. Now, the question comes up as to where is all this data coming from? If I go back to here, I'm going to look at the history file. So what happens is the history files, every time you save a planning element, it saves a record history file with all the changes that have happened in there. So now this is the history file, the hourglass. Click on that. It's going to show me all the history records for this particular one here. So it starts out in reverse chronological order. So 7/1 of 22. The record was added by Fred Erickson. The traffic light status in here. The activity itself, the performance metric, any notes that get added come up in here. And then over here on the far right is the data value that we're actually graphing. A couple of options that, again, you guys have and only managers and org admins have, and that is the ability to change the date. And the reason that is important is because I can go in and add a data value. So what I would do is set the data values down here for what it was, let's say 2 years ago, if I want to bring in historical records. So I'll set the data values, the percent complete, the dates, the notes, all that kind of stuff, and I'll go ahead and save it. And then when I save it, it creates a new history record. It'll be at the top of the group because it'll be today's date up here. I can click on the date. I can go down here and change that date to somebody back, in the 2 years ago, whatever it happened to be. I can save it. And then it'll appear down here at the bottom of the group. So what you're able to do is basically add historical records. The other option you have is if I have a record in here that I've accidentally duplicated, I was playing around or something, and I got an extra record, I can highlight the date field and hit the X button, and I can remove that record in here. And again, if you do that wrong, you can go back and recreate the data values, save it again, and add it back at whatever date you want it to be in there. So all the history is saved. Again, every time you save a data element in here, it's going to create a history record in here. So that is micro level performance monitoring. Any questions?
Not for me.
Okay. Okay, let's go to reporting then. We're not going to talk about all the reports today. Once you guys get down the road further, have a lot of plans entered, then we're going to get into what we call the three-dimensional planning portions, but it's really won't make a lot of sense until we get down the road a little bit here. So we're going to talk about some of the primary reports today, the most commonly used reports. So let's go ahead and go back to our group screen. Now, the reason I was talking about the cookie crumb down here before is because reports come in at two different levels, either the group level. So if I select Tobacco 2023 up here, I'm going to do a report for everything within Tobacco 2023. Now you'll notice down at the bottom that my service initiative, goal, objective, and activity are clear. If that's the case, when I generate the report, it's going to generate it for all of the services or initiatives here. So it's going to show all three of these. Now that I'm down here at the service initiative tab and I have tobacco cessation in there, the report will just be for tobacco cessation. So you got two levels. I can either do the entire group or I can do a specific service or initiative within the group. So let's go back and do the entire group again. So I've got to select the group again because right now I've got service initiative selected. I select the group, it clears that. Go to my reports menu up here, say operational plan report. You may recall that in the operational planning at the service level down at the bottom right corner, there's a checkbox that said hide service. If you're an org admin or a manager level user, you'll get this dialog if you have any hidden services. And just basically says, do you want to include data from the hidden records in there? And again, if it's within that group that you're looking at, you can include it in there or you can exclude it. I'm going to go ahead and say no for now. So what we're going to have here is the operational plan report for the entire tobacco program because I have the group selected here. Now, if I go down to the bottom, you'll notice it included initiative 2 and 3 down here. If I were to go, well, let's go back and do that. I'll go back to my group screen, go to my service initiative screen, and just select tobacco cessation and do the same report. We'll see down at the bottom that it only has the selected service or initiative down there. So those are gone down here. We have the goals, but we don't have the additional services or initiatives. So let's look at some of the options up here. Every activity has got an ending date. So down here we have this one says 3/1 of 23 is the ending date. If I wanted to go back and say, let's say I have a really long report or a strategic plan or something in there, maybe got 100 activities, and I want to go back and say, what should I have gotten accomplished last month? I can use the date fields in here, and what I'm acting on is the end date of the activity. So if I say every activity that was supposed to have ended in June, let's say, so I put in June 1 to June 30th as my beginning and ending date. And as all I'm going to see in the report is just those activities for that particular date. Again, it's, going back and say, what should I have gotten completed last month? Or I could say, what am I going to be doing in August? So I can put in August 1 to August 31st or whatever it is. And then it's going to show me everything that I should be focusing on for August. So that's what the date is in there. Again, it acts on the ending date of the activity. The other one we have up here is documents. So if I click on that, it's going to show me in green all of the documents that are attached. In this case, there's just one document attached. This is our tobacco cessation plan. It's attached to the initiative. So it always shows up underneath the plan element. So it would show up, if it was attached to the goal, it would show up down here. You can attach it anywhere you want to, the group all the way down to the activity level here. And if you have multiple documents, they'll just string out here, comma separated. Let's go ahead and take that off. Now, the other thing I can do is if I wanted to show somebody a plan without all of the historical notes in it, sometimes you'll have pages and pages of notes. You may want to show somebody, here's our plan without all the notes in there. I can just use the hide button up here. If I do that, it's just basically going to take out all the blue. So you notice all the notes are gone in there. And again, if you just want to say, here's my plan, or maybe you want to share this plan with somebody else who's interested in your strategic plan, in this case, your tobacco plan. And then rows says, put the notes in the row underneath the planning element here. You notice down here, we have one red activity. If I were in a very large plan and I just wanted to be able to say, just show me the red activities, that's what the status drop down is here for. So I can go down here and say, just show me the red. And what it's going to do is filter everything else out at the activity level. So it just shows me the red activity. And again, if I'm looking at that as something to focus my time on here, I want to go down and look at this red activity and figure out what's going on. When you're doing the accreditation process, a lot of people like to say, if it's yellow, it's a draft. If it's green, it's completed by us. If it's gold, it's been submitted up into EFAB. So that's what you can use this for. I can go in and say, show me all the green activities, which would indicate that they are done and ready to be submitted up into EFAB. So it just gives you the ability to go look at that and just say, oh, I forgot to submit this particular green activity in there. So I can take that one and submit it up into EFAB. So that's the filter there. Now the filter acts on the level here. So I can look at any different level. I'm going to go back to all here. And I can look at any different level in the plan. So if I want to look at just the services, in this case, it's just going to show the one, because remember, I have it filtered down at the service level here. It's going to show me just the tobacco cessation initiative. And then I can say, I want to see that and the goals. So you see the 3 goals down here, the notes, the data source, all that stuff is in there. My objective level, same thing. So basically what I'm doing is how far down the pyramid do I want to look? The reason you have a lot of this is because a lot of times I want to look at just my targets. How are we doing against our targets? Not how are we getting there, but in fact, if we're green, in this case, we're yellow, I might want to drill down a little farther on the activities for that to see how I get there. Now, any plan or any report that you see up here that you want to print out, you got a lot of different options here. Everything gets saved. Let's go ahead and go back to our activities level here. Every report gets saved as an HTML file, web-based file. And the reason for that is because the formatting is very compatible with everything else out there. So to save the report, I'm going to click down here. And here's my report. Default name is VMSG report.htm. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to have to save it somewhere. Typically, you can save it on your desktop if it's temporary. You can save it in a temporary folder or something along that line. I'll go ahead and save it now for my desktop. And I'm going to say just, that's fine. Call it that, save it. So what's going to happen now, once it saves it to my desktop, it's going to appear in my browser down here at the bottom. I'll close this. I can now open that report and it opens in a web browser. So now my options at this point are many. One of those is to print the report, obviously. So I can go up to the 3 dots in the top right of the browser and go down and hit print. I can print it to a PDF, so it's perfectly formatted for a PDF. I can print it to a printer, obviously. A couple of different options that you might have. Because it's an HTML file, this is actually a web page. So you can take this file, put it on your web server, and display this report as a web page. Secondly, if I want to take this report and put it into, say, a Word document, real simple, I click anywhere in the report. I would hit Control A or select all, and I would hit Control C, pop open Word. Personally, I like to use landscape mode and narrow margins in Word, and then just paste it into Word, and it'll paste exactly like this. It's very the HTML format is matches the Word formatting, so you'll have a complete report in Word. And then what people like to do is go through and highlight things and add some notes in there and that kind of stuff. So that's why you might want to put it into Word. So that is the operational plan report. Let's go back over to here. So this operational plan report is probably 85–90% of what you'll use in the system. It's by far the most common. Now let's look at some of the other reports. As you recall, we had partners attached to activities. Well, this report just shows me the list of partners that I have, and it gives me several options here. So here's my list of partner organizations. Over here, I have some options. Do I want to print the selected partner only? So in this case, do I want to just print Andrea's car seat installation? I'll say no. I want to print them all. Do I want to print the contacts for that organization? Yes. Do I want the detail behind it? So I want addresses, phone numbers, emails, all that kind of stuff. I'll say yes. And I'll go ahead and generate the report. So basically, it's just showing me all of the partners that I have assigned in the system here that I can be attaching to activities and all the relevant information there. Now back to our reports menu. The other one that is really nice to have is partner activities. So once you get a bunch of external partners assigned, like say to your chip, you might want to know, where am I working with these various partners in here? So I've got VMSG dashboard, organization, and I got Fred Erickson as the contact. If I wanted to show everything that we are working on as a department with VMSG dashboard, I have a couple options down at the bottom. I can either do a searchable screen or an editable screen, or I can generate a report. So if I generate the editable screen on this side, it's for the organization VMSG dashboard and not just Fred Erickson. So remember, I could have a dozen contacts over here at VMSG dashboard. And if I wanted to look at it, I could look at it at the contact name. So I could say just Fred Erickson. In this case, I'm going to say VMSG dashboard. And it's going to give me a screen that I can actually go in and edit those partners in there. And the reason that comes in handy is if I'm working with a partner today and maybe that partner is going to change out over time, or maybe Fred, changes out, we got a new person in there, something like that, I can go in and change it in here. So it just gives me the ability, again, to kind of drill down on the partners there. The other option I have, let's say I'm over here and I want to say, I just want to see where we're working specifically with Fred Erickson, and I want to do a report format. So I'll click on the report button here, and it's going to show me a report of every activity that involves just Fred Erickson at VMSG dashboard. And again, that's a point you might want to go in there and make some changes. But in the report format, a lot of times it's going to be the report that you're going to sit down with your partner with and just say, here's everything I show we're working on in our system. Is there anything else, anything that you're done with, any changes in this? So you can take this report and sit down with your partner organizations, in this case, specifically Fred Erickson at VMSG dashboard, and say, here's the 2 activities that we have you working with us on. Anything you wanted to update on this, that sort of thing. So it's a good report to have as you're doing partner meetings and that sort of thing. So that is our partners reports. The second most commonly used report is this team lead report. Let's go click on that. So the team lead report, first of all, is going to my default group here in Tobacco 2023. I'm going to hit the all button here that says show me everybody. Now, if I wanted to look, at Steve Hansen, and I want to look at every activity that Steve's associated with, I can go down at the bottom. I have several choices. When I say individual, what that means is I'm just going to show a report for Steve Hansen. If I say group, it's going to be whatever group I had selected here. So in this case, it would have been just the tobacco group. So I could say just the everybody in the group, in the tobacco group, would show up on the report. If I say all, that says show me the entire organization. So in this case, every user in your system would show up on the report. I have my options over here of looking at the objectives or looking at the activities. And if I'm looking at the activities, I can say, I want to see whether they're either a team lead or a team member, or I just want to see whether they're a team member or just whether they're a team lead. So in this case, we'll go ahead and say, I want to look at Steve Hansen, just where he is a team lead in the activities. And again, I got the same options of a editable screen or a report. Let's just generate the editable screen here. So these are all of the activities where Steve is the team lead down here. If I click on any of those, he'll be the team lead versus a team lead or team member. And again, this comes in handy if Steve is retiring, you're going to replace him with somebody else, gives the option to go just to those activities that Steve is assigned to and make the changes. And again, if that happens and you got a bunch of activities and you're bringing somebody else in to replace Steve when he's retiring, get hold of me. I've got a tool that I can push all that down for you so you don't have to manually go through all this stuff. So that is the team lead report. Now, the other thing that's nice about that is if I wanted to say, I wanted to look at all the objectives or activities in a report format. Again, I'm having my quarterly meeting with my employees. I just want to sit down and have a sheet in front of me that shows everything they're doing, including all the status. That's where this comes in nice as handy as well. So those are, the rest of these reports we'll be talking about, the categorization reports and such. We get into three-dimensional planning, and that'll be kind of after you guys get into the system for a while here. So that is the reporting. Any questions on reporting?
No, looks good.
Okay. Let's go on and talk about three-dimensional planning then. So let's go ahead, and three-dimensional planning, again, is creating public-facing web pages for any data elements in the system. So I'm going to go down and use the example of your chip in here. So North Central, there we go. Okay. So I'm going to go down and look at your chip. So under your chip, we just have one service or initiative. I could do it at the group level here. Let's go ahead and just do that. So I'm at the group level here. This is my VMSG public button, three little people on there. Click on that. What level do I want to summarize? What I'm looking at is the traffic lights at the level here. I'm going to go ahead and say activity level. Probably have the most activities in there. And I'll go ahead and hit that. Now what it's going to do is generate an indicator row at the activity level. If I remember, everything is green, but it says we have 8 green activities. There'd be a pie chart. It would show the red, yellow, green, and gold in here if you had that in there. And it says we're 10 days ahead of schedule. So this is my entire community health improvement plan. Let's go ahead and save that. So now I've saved that particular indicator row. Now let's go down to the services initiative. So we have cardiac health. Let's go ahead and generate a row for that. And let's say we had, 5 or 6 of these. We could generate a row for each of them in here. So I could have a breakdown of the entire community health plan. Again, I'm going to have the same thing because it's the same data, just down a level here. Go ahead and save that. Now let's go down to the goal level here. Again, we have one goal, but we'll go ahead and generate it anyhow. So you can see I can generate this at any level, and you can see how the plan could break out pretty heavily. So I'll go ahead and save that. Now down at the objective level, we'll just skip that. We'll go right to the activity level. So now we have the 7 different activities. We could, again, generate a row for each of those. Now, when I do the activities, what I'm going to be looking at is the performance, and I don't think we probably have any performance data in here. No history records are found, so it's new. The activity level will show me the same as the performance chart here. It'll show me a chart. Once we get done with this, I'll take you over to back to the tobacco group. We'll look at that. So now I have the indicator rows in there. I'm going to go to my main menu up here, go down and look at my indicator rows. So these are the 3 rows that I created. So yeah, that's the one I want for my web page. I'm going to go ahead and export it here. So that's what it's going to look like, is those 3 indicator rows. And since we're just going down single level elements, they're all identical here. But I'm going to say, yep, that's what I want my web page to look like. I'll go ahead and save that. I'm going to put a description down here. It says VMSG demo page. We'll go ahead and save that. And now this is the web address for that particular page. The page has been created up on our web servers up here, so I can grab that, Control C. Oops, sorry. Go back and open a new browser tab, paste it in there, Control V, enter, and there's our web page. You can have as many of these rows on a page as you want. What a lot of people will do is say, for instance, I might want to have my strategic plan broken down here. So I would have the entire strategic plan on the top row and each of my strategic priorities on a row below it. If I want to go down below that, I could put the goals under the strategic priorities, literally all the way down to the activity level. So that's the ability to create public-facing web pages. Now, I told you I would show you. Let me go back to the activity level here at the USA Public Health. Just go back to where we have some data in here. Okay, so here's VMSG Public at the objective or activity level. I can go and click on the chart, and then I can generate a VMSG Public page, which will look just like this chart. So I click on that, and I'll say, would you like to replace it? I'll replace. And so it's going to look like this. And then it's got the rollovers on it, so you can see all the different levels in there. So again, this is an indicator row at the objective and activity level, that micro level, if you will. I can go ahead and save that. And you notice we just got a bunch of those in there. You can get to, again, you can get to the indicator rows down here, and you can get to the web pages that are down there as well. So these are all the different web pages you've created. If I want to grab one of those, I can just go in here and again, grab the URL. Again, you can email that URL to somebody. You can put it on your public-facing web page, talk to your IT folks, get it put up there. So they're all available to you. All of these web pages are available to you. Now, the other thing I wanted to show you is the ability to customize the left side. So as you get down to the activity level, you're going to have a lot of text over here, which you may or may not want. What it is the pyramid. So it's going down the group level, the service level, the goal level. You can have objective and activity level down here. So you can have a lot of text. In order to be able to customize that, you got a couple different options. So down here is the text that appears there. You'll notice it's in this is HTML format. So you got the font, face, Arial, size 2, color. I can get rid of all of that and just say objective 1. And if I save that and I display the row, it just says objective 1. So that's the simplest version. Now, if you want to get kind of nice, you can make a lot of changes on here. And by doing that, what you're doing is just using HTML formatting. So I'm going to walk through the most common HTML, but you can use, by the way, you use anything. If you're not familiar with HTML and you want to play with this, just go Google HTML tags and it'll give you everything you want to know. But you can add links in here. You can add graphics in here, all kinds of different things. But the most common changes that we make, let me get through here, are using these codes. So the first code is font. So every HTML code starts with an open bracket or a less than sign. Font, face is Arial, size is 2. I think this goes from 1 to 7. Color, you can try to put in anything you want in here. It'll get most of them. You can put maroon and navy and dark blue and whatever. There is an option also, again, looking it up on Google if you want to, a £sign and 6 characters to get a very finite color code in there. This is the text I'm working on. Then I close the tag with a slash font. So open with a font, close with a slash font, and the text will look like this. So again, I can make any font I want to use in there, any color, any size. I can bold the text, so just putting a B and a slash B around the text that I want. I can italicize it, again, I and slash I, and then I can put line breaks. So these are the tags that I use mostly for customizing that if I wanted to go back and tweak it around there. So the BR doesn't have a close tag, by the way. It's just at the end of the line. Put the bracket BR, and it'll give you a line break in there. So that was what I had to go over today. Any questions? Anything else you'd like to see?
No, I think on the dashboard end or like the public facing, I'll just have to play with it a little bit more. But
yeah, as you do, if you have any questions, you know where you can find me.
Sure.
I'll definitely watch this video again, this recording.
Okay. I will. I'll put the recording up on YouTube and send you the link.
All right. Great. Great. Thanks, Fred.
Well, Heidi, enjoy your conference. And if you guys need anything, you know
I
where to
will. Awesome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.